So the Shin Ultraman intro dropped a couple of days ago, and I thought I'd give my quick thoughts on what I thought on some of the kaiju that appeared in this intro. And the first off on the intro is Gomess. I'm not gonna go too much into talking about Gomess since I already made a video discussing him. So yeah, I think it looks great, but yeah, I'm not gonna go too much deep into him. So either ways. Next up is Juran, or also known as the Mammoth flower, and honestly, it's not really hard to get the design for this wrong. It's just a big old flower, it's impossible to mess up this design, so yeah, Juran or the Mammoth flower doesn't look pretty bad, it looks pretty good. Next is Peguila, and it's kind of hard to see a little bit here because of Peguila's powers. It's covered by all like of his nose and all of his eyes, but from what I can tell, it looks like Peguila's design is practically unchanged. It doesn't seem that heavily altered. It looks like they didn't really change that much of it. But yeah, I think from what I can see is that Peguila looks pretty good. I like that they didn't really drastically change its design. It kind of remains very loyal towards the original. And I've seen people confuse this for being Chandler or Chandora from Ultraman, but nah, this is Peguila from Ultra Q. Chandler didn't appear until Ultraman, but yeah, it looks fine. Next up is Larugeus, the giant ancient bird monster, and honestly, at first I thought this was a giant chicken. It looked like a big old chicken. But yeah, Larugeus is just basically a giant bird in the original Ultra Q, sort of like pigeon-like, but yeah, it doesn't look bad. What I like from here is that Larugeus is kind of like its powers or abilities from its giant wings are literally causing like giant tornado-like winds, so it's basically blowing away buildings, and I like that. It sort of reminds me of the original Ultra Q when he's like destroying the city, but it also reminds me a lot of Rodan from the Kingdom of the Monsters 2019 film, where it just like it's in its first flight, it literally just blows away an entire town. So yeah, it's pretty good to see that its wings are being depicted as powerful, even though it's just a big old bird. Moving on to Goga, or I guess in this film called Kaigel. But yeah, Goga is a giant snail-like monster or like sluggish creature that appeared in the original Ultra Q, and for some reason he's called Kaigel in Shin Ultraman. And I feel like the reason they did that is because in the original Ultra Q, Goga had a concept art or a draft that called it Kaigel. But yeah, this design doesn't look bad. It's hard to really mess up this design since it's practically a giant like snail or a giant slug like creature. So yeah, you really can't mess up this design. So yeah, he looks good. He looks fine. I like the coloring. And finally, we have Pagos. And honestly, I feel like Pagos was done dirty. Like, at first, I thought this was like a Gabora or Shin Gabora unevolved form until like I realized like, oh, it's supposed to be Pagos. But basically what they did is they took the body of Shin Naronga, Shin Gabora, and just stitched it together to make Shin Pagos. And honestly, it just kind of comes off as lazy to me. I mean, you could say the exact same for like Shin Gomess, but for me, I feel like Pagos was like a last minute addition, and yeah, I guess they decided to add like the little horns to like its head to make it like obviously be like Shin Pagos. But I all I can see is literally like a Shin Gabora without like its frills, like its armored plating. But yeah, I'm not saying that it's a bad design. Because, I mean, in action, it looks cool, but, like, it just kind of comes off like a Shin Gabora to me. All I see is Shin Gabora, and I really don't see, like, that much of, like, Pagos to it, aside from, like, the body. And I get what they were going for, since, like, Pagos, Gabora, and Neronga were all Kaiju created using the Baragon suit. So I guess in order to pay tribute, they decided to make Pagos a creature that uses like the body of Neronga and Gabora in this film, but I don't know. I'm not that big of a fan of the design. It doesn't look bad. It looks alright, but probably not my favorite. Honestly, my least favorite one from what I've seen so far. And that is practically it for this video. I just wanted to give my quick thoughts on the Ultra Q Kaiju for Shin Ultraman, and yeah. Anyways, if you have your own thoughts or comments on these designs, feel free to leave it down in the comment section down below. And yeah, later.